Hello everyone, I'm just curious. How many of you have in your jails or prisons microphones and cameras to have video recordings and voice recordings of everything done in the visitation area, no matter what type of visitation you have? And if you do you think it is an asset and if it helps with the security issues in the prison? Hi, I'm Gary York, True Prison Stories, and we also discuss prison topics, and today the topic is microphones and cameras in the visitation area. Recently there's been some talk on the social media about how do inmates get information when the mail is screened and they don't have the TV to watch shows. How do they find out about other inmates' lives and stories? How do inmates find out about where officers live and their family life and things like that? And one of the things that spurred this conversation this week was David Sweet is attacking Ben Stiller. They're having their little issue there, and not that it really matters to me at all what David Sweet has to say. It did bring up the topic, and now people are discussing how do inmates get third-party information. Well, there's all kinds of ways. I investigated visitation cases a lot in my 12 years as a prison inspector. You have visitors that come to the visitation park. They have all the outside information, and the officers are observing the entire visitation area, watching for security, looking for unusual actions, misappropriate touching and such as this, but they don't hear all the conversations. One individual, when I stated this, stated that does not happen at their facility anymore. This was an officer I was talking to in New York, and he said that they did a $16 million upgrade in New York, and they have microphones and cameras in the visitation park. So I would like to know from all of you out there, I would like to know how many have this in their visitation park for contact visits. Now, we know we have video visitation popping up in jails across the country at a high rate, so we know the video visitation is going to be easily recorded. We also have partitions at some visitation where it's not contact, but you're sitting across from each other with a phone you can talk through, and those can be recorded very easily with a microphone. But let's take Florida, for instance, and many other states where the prisons have contact visits and there's no microphones under the tables. They're usually park bench tables outside, and inside the folding tables are all laid out with chairs. There's no microphones there. So how many have this, and is it effective? Is it cost effective in the long run? I was quoted $16 million to supply some prisons in New York with cameras and microphones for visitation. So, is it worth the $16 million? Are they effective? Are they gathering the information we need? And are the staff members or the prison management and investigators gathering intelligence from these discussions and visitation that will help prevent escapes, drug smuggling, and so forth? Now, as an investigator, I love the idea of having the microphones and cameras in visitation. I think it's great because I was a former correctional officer in a state prison, and then I went to probation and parole, and then to the investigator side. And on the investigator side, it would be great to go to the prison and the warden say, here's a tape recording of so-and-so and his visitor talking about this at visitation. We love that. What's your opinion from the front line? Is it helping? Is it worth the money? Here's another question. Should the money be used to give officers pay raises and hire more officers and put more officers into the visitation area for security rather than spend that much money on microphones and cameras? There's a lot of thoughts and ideas on this, and I'd sure love to hear them. No matter what you have to say, we would like to hear them. Are you happy about this type of plan being implemented into the visitation parks, or would you rather see this large amount of money being spent in other areas? So that's my question today, and if you are interested in things that go on in the visitation parks, on my YouTube timeline, I have a couple of visitation stories under my True Prison Stories that I investigated with inmates having sex during visitation, with drug smuggling during visitation, women getting pregnant during visitation, so feel free to check those out. But today I want to know about your thoughts on putting microphones and cameras in visitation. And what do you think about the cost? And do you think the money could be spent better elsewhere? Just a short clip to see what you think. Thank you very much. True Prison Stories, Gary York.